Hi, and welcome to Full Focus. I'm Pat Launer, sitting in for Gloria Penner. As KPBS's resident theater diva, I find high drama in all the arts. And lately, none seems to provoke greater extremes of emotion than public art around the county. Tonight, we're going to take a look at public art in all its forms and controversies, and we'll discuss the newly developed Public Art Master Plan for San Diego. Art displayed in public places attracts tourists and locals alike. It reflects the cultural interests and diversity of a community. Sometimes a public art piece becomes a beacon or an icon for a given locale. Think of the Statue of Liberty, the Eiffel Tower, the Sydney Opera House. It might interest you to know that each of these was a very contentious project when it was first introduced. I took a little spin around San Diego with Parks and Recreation Ranger Kim Duclos, who's a staff advisor to the city's Public Art Committee. We started at one of our most high-profile gathering spots, the San Diego Convention Center. In addition to its unique architecture, it's filled and surrounded by public art. Nikki de Saint Phalle sculpture is one of the more notable and noticeable ones around the convention center, but there are many other pieces of public art here.
Absolutely. If you wanted to do a walking tour of public art, this would be a great place to start. Maybe at Coming Together by Nikki de Saint Phalle. But throughout the region, throughout this area, there's public art on the back side of the convention center, inside the convention center, across the street in the Martin Luther King Promenade, at the Children's Pool and Park. So this is a terrific place to start any public art walk, I would say.
So also here at the Convention Center, this is a piece by James Carpenter, right?
Correct, called Luminous Arc. It's a series of steel poles that have lights with prismatic glass at the top of them, and it forms a bridge, if you will, from the street side of the convention center over to the bay side. So at night it lights up and sort of forms this blue arc that you can follow over, and in the daytime, on a sunny day, you get this wonderful effect where you have all sorts of rainbow colors reflecting through the glass at the top. And it also has that wonderful nautical theme that the rest of the convention center has, and reflecting the boats off in the bay in the background.
And the masts.
And the masts.
Yeah. Kind of nautical but nice.
Nautical but nice. We're on the bay side right now, and there's a wonderful piece by Leonardo Neerman that he donated to the city several years back, and the only caveat was find a suitable place for it. And so after much thought, the Port District offered up this site, and I think it's worked out quite well. It's a beautiful piece that really works well with the sailboats and everything behind the bay, and it's called Flama de la Amistad, or Flame of Friendship. Really nice piece.
And it was donated to
the city, and then in collaboration with the Port District, they located it here.
Kim, tell us about the mural on the walls outside the convention center.
When they had to lower Harbor Drive to accommodate the convention center, they suddenly had this ideal space, they decided, so they commissioned Einar and Jamex de la Torre to create a work that's called Journey to Aztlan. It's a large-scale piece that sort of reflects the Veracruz period of art in Mexico, and it has 300 of these wonderful glass sculptural pieces in it all along Harbor Drive here.
Well, we've seen a few examples of public art now. I'd like to ask each of our visiting experts to express their own feelings about public art and its significance. Robert Pincus, art critic of the San Diego Union-Tribune. Iris Strauss, co-chair of the Public Art Master Plan Committee for the City of San Diego. And award-winning artist Joyce Cutler. Shaw. Welcome to you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'd like to start with you, Bob. What exactly would you say is public art, and what do you think is its role in the community?
Well, public art, is a little bit of a misleading term, I think, because in a sense we're talking about art that's in public places. Public art sometimes connotes the idea that somehow that the public has come together behind particular works of art. which I think is, as we found out, is not always true. There's many publics with many opinions about art that's going to be cited in public places or has been cited in public places.
Iris, as a serious art collector yourself and a member of the San Diego Commission for Arts and Culture, why do you think public art is important?
Well, all the great, sophisticated cities in the world have public art. It not only enhances the cultural beauty of a city, but it creates a sense of belonging, a sense of identity. It gives you the past, the present, the history. It encompasses everything that should be important to feel like an identity to your city.
Joyce, as an artist, what is it about public art that impassions you?
What I bring to it is a concept that the artist takes an approach to the site and to the meaning of the site, whether it's the built or the natural environment, with an idea of transformation, of making that intent of the building or the natural environment visible.
Well, some public art is static and some is interactive, as I learned when Parks and Recreation Ranger Kim Duclos took me to another public art spot, the 25th Street Corridor, Crab Caroline 2003, by artist Roman DeSalvo and composer Joseph Waters. This is fun. This is interactive art.
Isn't this a great piece?
This is fun.
This is a piece by Roman DeSalvo, and he worked with a composer, and they actually tune the pieces of metal here so that if you run a stick or a book or something across it, it actually plays a song. And
Wait, I heard that it's a musical palindrome, that it works the same way in either direction.
Either direction. What's also wonderful about this is one of the biggest problems with public art is a lot of times it's being vandalized. This is almost bomb-proof here because it's designed for you to run a stick across it or a piece of metal or anything and get that sound quality. It's also functional in that you'll notice there was previously no safety barrier between the kids crossing from school on this busy street. So this not only provides safety, it kind of provides some wonderful entertainment for them as well.
Multi-purpose art.
Multi-purpose.
Well, obviously, some public art can be a lot of fun. But Bob Pincus, why do you think that it's become such an emotional hot potato of late?
Well, I think that Iris's comment hinted a little bit at that, which is that people do feel whether a work is designed specifically for their city or not. If it's a large-scale, high-profile commission, they often feel as if it's going to be in some way identified with the identity of the city. So they argue back and forth about whether, in fact, that should be the case.
And last forever.
Well, they last a long time, if not forever.
So, could you comment on the current commotion, this moment's brouhaha about the A. Waisel project, Spirit of the Seas?
Well, you know, it's proposed as a work for a downtown site, very large, 50 feet tall. And the problem with the piece is, I think, that it's kind of a fake populism. It's kind of a hodgepodge of Baroque and Renaissance ideas kind of thrown together into a stew, as if you can sort of create instant icons. And I think it's just I think it became a hot button because people felt like he was trying to say, I'm going to create a big, spectacular icon for San Diego, and that's my purpose. So people immediately launched on that, and in fact, we got tons of letters when I commented on it in the paper.
Can you say just for a moment, for people who didn't see that,
sure,
that back and forth mail to you and your comments to the general public at the UT, what is the piece actually like?
Yeah, well, I am probably presuming a little too much familiarity with it. But in essence, it was a 50-foot figure of Neptune with his pitchfork, with reins to orca whales, who are, you know, instead of the seahorses, which are part of the traditional imagery. And he wanted to claim, whether it's true or not, it would be the largest cast bronze in the world.
Wow. Do you have any comments on it?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment about that. It's interesting that it was proposed as an object, as a piece, with a search for a site and corporate backing. From my point of view, and I think from artists' point of view, you have a site first. You have a need for an expression or an artistic expression, a sculptural expression that it merges out of the site, that's inspired by the situation itself. I think this was the very opposite.
Iris?
Well, I have a few brief comments. I think, first of all, I would say to you, is this the image we want to project for San Diego? What historical relevance does Neptune and 5 killer whales really have for our city? aside from that, I think we should look at the land use issue. I seriously object to using our city's precious portlands without a process, and there was not a good process for this. After all, the port has a master plan, a vision for the North Embarcadero. There are plans for this precious land, and for one person to come forth with this immense piece that's over 5 stories high and say, I want you to give me the land, I'm going to gift you the piece, which actually he has to raise the money for.
Well, let me pose this question to all of you. Since there was so much public outcry, positive and negative, about your article and about people's opinions of the piece, what do you think should be the role of the public in public art? Joyce, you want to jump in on that?
You look like you did.
I look like I did. You know, we want to address a community, and a community wants participation, and ideally we want that collaboration. The problem is, of course, when an artist has a conception for a particular site, it has to do with, from my point of view, the transformation of that place, an articulation of that place, an elaboration of the place, and other kinds of tastes come in. The one point that I think is a sticking point is that we tend to like what we know. And there's a repetition of images, like we have all these whale murals. For the artist, we tend to want to do what hasn't been done and extend that. There's a dissonance between the comfort zone and the need to innovate.
Can I jump in on that? Because I do think that Joyce raises something really important, which is that public art should, in a sense, have an element of surprise to it, which you're implying. And that surprise creates delight. And, I mean, the library project that Joyce herself did is something that people wouldn't have anticipated, but once they see it, they love it, and they embrace it as their own in terms of what they want.
I would also like to add one other thing, and that is that I think there should be a process to select an artist. There should be guidelines. There should be an artist competition or an invitational, and this process would then go to an artist selection panel, which then would review the quality and the quantitative purpose of the piece.
So there would be experts rather than the general public. And that would encompass
the public, because that's what we're there to do. And this bypassed it all.
Okay, well, this is a good entree into talking about the San Diego Commission for Arts and Culture's new master plan for public art, which has been drafted over a period, I think, of something like 18 months by a county-wide committee of 30 people from a wide range of backgrounds and interests.
Exactly.
What motivated the need? Is this kind of thing that what motivated the need for a master plan, and what is it going to do for San Diego?
Well, as I said before, all great cities have public art. Right now, we're just a voluntary art program. And what we did is we hired Jerry Allen, an associate who is a very competent consultant. He has successfully led 25 cities through the public art process to success. We need to have, it is essentially, the public art master plan is essentially a document. A thick one, it's about this thick and about almost 150 pages. But what it does is it is essentially recommendations, policies, and guidelines that will, these policies will help ensure the funding for public art and the administration and maintenance of it.
And selection as well, is that?
Oh, everything is encompassed in this, all aspects. It's very, very comprehensive. As you said, we've spent 18 months. We had a great cross-section of the city. My co-chair is Dean Oliver, who is a developer here in San Diego. On the committee, there were artists, there was city planners, there was lawyers, everybody you can imagine, developers, of course. And what we see is that this will bring San Diego into the 21st century, into the millennium, as the beautiful, vibrant, cultural city.
Let's talk about the most controversial aspect of that plan, of course, which is dedicating to public art a percentage of all private, commercial, industrial, and residential developments. Could you tell us a little bit more about that and how you think it'll be received both by the people of San Diego and by the City Council?
Well, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful
of
it'll
course,
be well received.
Of course, after 18 months.
I know, but I'm getting a little bit too narrow-minded because I've been too focused on it, I think. However, no, I think we've tried so hard to keep it so all-encompassing. We've done our homework. We've had over 150 people interviewed within the city. We've talked to everybody in the city. We've had charrettes. We've done everything we could to try to get everything into it. Now, of course, it will be a percentage for art, which is what we have to ensure in order to have public art in our city. It's 2% for public art, and then it will also be a percentage for developers, private development, as well as 1% or a 0.5% in lieu fee for residential. Residential over a certain figure, of course.
So what kind of money are we talking about here? Billions? Millions?
Not billions, not billions. Probably a few $100,000.
It's not that much for a city this size.
It's 2% of the capital improvement budget, and that would probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of $300,000.
So what's your reaction as an art critic, as an artist? What is your, you've seen the master plan. Mm-hmm. How did you react to it?
I think it's very cogently crafted. It seems like it really addresses the current situation. I mean, it seems as if, every 10 to 15 years you need a new master plan to reflect the new state of where a city's at, and it seems to me the amount of money really shouldn't be a sticking point, because if we're talking about how much developments and developing costs, it's a small fraction of that devoted to really beautifying those environments which get developed in some way.
And there is a precedent for this in many other cities.
Oh, yeah.
There's over 400 master plans in cities around the country. 400.
Wow. With that same kind of percentage.
Out of that 400, only 6 are voluntary.
Wow.
And we've missed so many opportunities, and a good example would be the ballpark. We've missed so many opportunities to have public art. We don't, our time is now. We don't want to miss any more.
I think that what's important is, I think the problem you'll have is when developers hear 1 or 2% for art of a new construction. And I think the address to that, having done projects now for 8 years, generally at the invitation, private projects as well, understanding that it can be integrated into the construction itself. I think there's an education process and a model process that would need to be done to make this visible, because it can enhance a project dramatically if the options are understood.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that in your case very specifically. You had a fairly unique and exceptional experience, I would say, in your work for the new Mission Valley Library. You were part of the process from the very beginning, and you won a National Design Detail Award for your work. Congratulations on that.
San Diego AIA was wonderful.
That's terrific. So now, is that the way, I mean, that's pretty much what you're saying. That's the way it should always be. Can you talk a little about your role in the process, and do you think that that's the way all art public art should be, that you're intrinsic to, not just some ex post facto add-on for decoration?
Well, it's the way I approach it and the way I appreciate it. I've been fortunate because I've been invited by the architect from the outset, even in shortlist with the Balboa Park, with the Mission Valley Library. And I was also part of the Balboa Park Activity Center. I was invited by the architect. I was part of the design team. We had the whole plans evolve with our participation from the outset. It's ideal.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
We're so proud of it. It's just such a wonderful, wonderful project.
So that's what we're hoping for, that will be a more common occurrence, that an artist will be involved from the outset.
Absolutely.
I think that I have to give a lot of credit to the Public Arts Commission here. The Commission for Arts and Culture was there for helping with contracts. I had to be my own contractor on the Mission Valley Library project, and you have to sign in blood for this. And also dealing with subcontractors. There are a lot of things to know and to understand. And it is an educational process if you've worked out of a studio.
But you had their support.
I had their support. I had advice, and had hands-on experience.
It was a delight to work with.
That's great.
So, that's
well, you know, this was certainly a very successful project. I think when we talked, Bob, before, you had said that one of the other projects, public art projects that in San Diego that you think is very successful is the Stewart Collection at UCSD.
Sure.
What do you think makes that work so well?
Well, there again, you have a kind of a model process in the sense that, you know, you bring artists to the campus of UCSD, and then you say, explore the campus, see where you might want to do something which is sensitive to a particular site within the campus or the function of a university campus. We talked about a couple of examples, the Snake Path by Alexis Smith, where, you know, it is a beautiful form, but it also has a function, as we talked about with Roman de Salvo's bridge. It is a path leading to the library, but of course it's a symbolic path because it's a snake, and it's about the garden and about notions of paradise and gardens, and even has a gigantic sort of, I think it's a marble facsimile of Milton's Paradise Lost as you go up the path. So it has a whole kind of cogency to its place, much like Joyce's project at the library. This, to me, is a successful kind of public art, something people can readily identify with and use at the same time.
So you mentioned gardens. Speaking of gardens, another successful, we hope, project is the soon-to-be-opened Queen Califia's Magical Circle in Escondido, which is Nikki de St. Phal's only American sculpture garden. Can you talk a little about that, Bob?
A little bit. I mean, I've seen it already. It's not quite done, but it's intended to be a place where people can go. It has this large figure of Queen Califia atop a gigantic bird, and anybody who knows Nikki de St. Phal's work knows that there's an immense amount of colorful tile and stone. It's very intricately crafted.
And
there's
whimsy,
a whole series
a
lot of whimsy. Totems all around it, which involve Native American, Spanish symbolism, Native American, all sorts of things. And there's a big snake which sort of encircles the whole thing, done in mosaic and stone as well. And it is whimsical. And she has often said that one of her primary audiences was children, and that she loves to delight young people with her art. And certainly I think this will do that.
That's great. So after all this discussion, how do you feel about the future of public art in San Diego?
Hopeful, very hopeful, absolutely.
No, I think we have very good people who have serious and not only serious intentions for the city, but participation. They're working very hard. I also think the point that Bob made was important as well, about being aware of the intent of a place and its concept, and the transformation of that, the translation of that, becomes very meaningful. And I think that kind of understanding the matchmaking, which is very critical between the artist and the people who are developing it or proposing it, is critical. And I think that the Arts Commission has a deep awareness of that need.
I think exactly. I mean, I think the days of the arbitrary monument really are, should be behind us in a way, because public arts becomes such a broad site-related thing. And also, I'm hopeful in the sense that look at the passion that went into, arguing either way about this Neptune piece. People do care about their city. They care about San Diego. And I think one of the reasons the letters ran primarily negative against it at the paper was people felt it was a bit arbitrary as a piece, and that we want things that are much more attuned to what is this place about.
Well, I think it's about relevance to our city. It should show a sense of our past. It should show a historical relevance and also a vision. Public art, to me, should show a vision of where this city is going. It should really bring a lot of cultural tourism to the city. People hear about it, they'll say, I want to go to San Diego. It's a vibrant city with a vibrant culture. Let's see what's going on there. And then you'll see pieces that reflect this vibrancy of our city. And that is, again, why I felt as I did about the Neptune piece. I don't think it is relevant to San Diego. And
you feel optimistic about the City Council response and the public's response to the plan?
I'm very optimistic. I'm always optimistic, but I'm especially so for this. And we're hoping to get it to City Council in January. That is the game plan.
Well, as you can see, there's plenty of public art to see around the county. And here's an update on the controversial Spirit of the Sea sculpture by A. Wazel. Last November, the City of San Diego's Commission for Arts and Culture voted not to support the 50-foot-tall Neptune and 50-foot-long orcas in bronze. The San Diego Port Commission is expected to make its final decision on the bronze sculpture this spring. For more information about this and other Full Focus programs, please go to our website. And we'd like to hear from you. Send us your comments and feedback on tonight's show. And be sure to join us tomorrow night for another edition of Full Focus. Good night.